This is a question that was on a PKU Facebook page recently. Specifically, part of the question was that this person's son has to gain 4 pounds and they're trying to figure out the healthiest and best way for him to do that, and he's only allowed 10 grams of protein. 4 pounds being, I think it's about just under 2 kg potentially. So I'm going to try and attempt to answer this question. I think, personally, the best way to address this is firstly making sure that they are slowly increasing weight, meaning that their calorie intake is just above their maintenance calories, i.e. for what they would need to eat to stay the same level. So slowly is better, obviously. But the battle for us is trying to put on lean muscle mass. Anyone can put on fat, but if we're going to do it the right way, we want to have and develop lean muscle mass, especially if you're doing a very intense sport like wrestling. So I would probably say that one of the biggest things would be to attempt to engage with this person's clinic, whoever and wherever that may be. The truth is that protein is going to be the only way we're going to be able to develop muscles. It's what's needed to repair the muscles from the damage that has been done from whatever sporting or fitness activity. So if our protein level is too low, then we're probably only just going to maintain, really, and we're only going to maybe put on fat. The higher our protein intake, the easier it will be to increase muscle mass. And muscle mass is going to be needed in a sport like wrestling because it's a lot of strength-based activity too, right? Now I'm going to put the formula that I use, and a lot of people use actually, on how to work out the daily amount of protein that you're getting, because if it's too low, you literally stand no chance. I was at a clinic years ago and they wouldn't increase my protein intake. My physical body just wasn't going for any changes. I was weight training continuously and I wasn't seeing any significant change. So stage one is trying to build a relationship with your clinic and being clear to them on what your goals are, and hopefully they understand. And that makes it quite difficult for an individual who's attempting to do this, because if the clinic doesn't understand and are not on the same wavelength, then the issue becomes they may not increase your protein intake, and so then you're solely relying on what you've got. And if your amount is low and your activity is high, that's going to be quite tough. Now, this person also mentioned, though, the healthiest way. So if we're ignoring the clinic and supplements and that sort of stuff, even though it's probably, I think, a significant part here, the other thing would be to try and get those extra calories, making sure they're eating enough, from healthy foods. 10 grams of protein, that's quite low, though I believe it's an average amount for someone with PKU. The issue, though, is that person is going to have to rely on lots of low protein based medical foods. We're so fortunate to have them, we are. The issue is, though, that they are massively processed, but we need to get our calories in, and this is our safest way of doing that. So it's making sure that they're eating enough and they're getting it from those low protein based options. For the extra protein from the food, then it's just, in my view, with a tolerance that low, it's about just choosing options that work for you. It can be healthy, etc., obviously, but with 10 grams, you haven't got a wide variety of choices, right? So if you become bored or just eating becomes a chore, which for a lot of people that is the case on this diet, then, the goal to achieve whatever it might be, this weight increase, would, just maybe filter away because of lack of motivation, etc. So I think it's just eating what you like, trying to keep it healthy as possible, fruits, veggies, low protein foods as well, healthy fats. So if you're into avocados and healthy oils, then making sure you're getting it from there as well. But PKU does add an additional layer to all of this, because if someone with a normal body was attempting to develop weight, increase weight for an activity like this, they would be getting a lot of their protein sources from food. The question for them might be, what protein sources should I eat? The right answer would probably be lean-based proteins, meats, fish, eggs, etc. But we can't do that. 10 grams of protein, one egg is probably about 6 or 7 grams. So it makes it a lot tougher. I would say get in contact with clinic, make sure they're aware, make sure they know what you're doing, and try to communicate it effectively. Is it just that you want to partake in wrestling, or is it that actually you're doing it X amount of times a week? How long are those sessions for? And try to get the supplement increased. The other thing would be to ensure that you have a very light carb meal before, a snack or whatever, before you train, and then, or this person, and then making sure that after, supplement is given straight away, protein supplement. Because if they won't give you more, the timing of that supplement is probably going to be really, really important. The other thing would be to maybe consider taking creatine, as long as it's not mixed in with something else. Pure creatine would be fine, as long as it doesn't have a mix which contains Phe. And if someone maybe sweats a lot, which in wrestling you may, looking at maybe taking electrolytes as well. Yeah, it's a complex one, right? If you get the protein, then everything else falls into place. It's like the foundation of development and repair, but the fuel of our body comes from those carbs, etc. as well. So a mixed nutritional diet, as much as the 10 grams of allowance allows. Train hard, making sure that water intake is good, making sure that sleep is good and recovery is good. But it comes down to protein. So I don't know where this individual lives. From what I've learned over the years, your geographical location is significantly important. And it doesn't even matter about the country, because there are clinics in the same country that operate completely differently, and that's frustrating. If the clinic doesn't allow you more protein and you are actually in a safe tolerant range to have more, maybe move clinic if there's a clinic nearby that maybe would do that for you. Someone who doesn't have this diet could easily be consuming 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. I don't know what that is in pounds. You're going to have to do the maths if you're elsewhere in the world where you use pounds. But if you're training a lot and you're very activity based, then that would be a really good healthy protein range to have. Now, what's not been mentioned in this question is the time frame that this person has got. The smaller time frame, the quicker they're going to have to gain weight, the more likely that will be fat. Ideally, it's the same with weight loss for anyone, but more so for us too. Weight loss or weight gain, the slower we can do it, the more chance we have to hold on to that lean muscle mass. If we're reducing weight, we'll lose it. Hopefully, if we're increasing weight, we will gain it. But what comes along with that is fat as well. I was weight training for like 5 years, and I know that's not wrestling, right? But I was weight training for 5 years on a really low protein amount, 1.1 grams per kilogram of body weight. It was just too small for what I was doing. That has been increased, and since that's been increased, I'm seeing changes within me. But this person's question was about weight gain, and I'm hoping that the information I've given here is somewhat helpful. Speak to clinic, communicate with them so they know what are the goals, what are the reasons, how much is this person training, the time frame that this person has. Try to eat clean source food, but you're on a low protein diet. A lot of that may have to come from processed options. It doesn't matter. You've got to go with what you've got, but try to get calories just above your maintenance level. In order to get that, weigh yourself consistently to see where your calorie range is, and your weight is stable, but then that person might have to track their calories as well. I did all that. I tracked everything, and it was probably one of the best learning processes I've ever had. The challenge is it was really, really time consuming until I become familiar with it. But I don't do that now, and I'm able to maintain my body weight, increase it or decrease it based on just subtle choices, really. So if I hadn't gone through that learning process, then I wouldn't have been able to figure that out.